Hey everybody, for those of you who saw my last podcast with Salman Sheikh, I realized I needed to add an addendum to it. Because he had asked me some questions and I gave answers, and I realized, okay, my answers were incomplete. Um, One in particular, but I'm just the kind of person who kind of likes to come in not very scripted and just kind of riff and that sort of thing. So, which I mean, I like to do it that way. Um, but sometimes I forget to talk about something kind of important, and so I'm adding it in here. Um, and just like with everything else in the video we talked about, nothing exists in a vacuum. So one topic is inevitably going to branch into several others. That's just the nature of life. Um, but one thing Samad wanted me to talk about is um, any advice for those who do want to leave the Baha'i faith. And one thing, you can go back and watch my video on it, but let me add something more. And that is where to go after it and actually what to avoid. Because you see, one of the main things we talk about was egregores, and of course, egregores overlap. And if you're leaving to be free of that egregore as best you can, you don't exactly want to go to a place that we're still in that egregore. Um, it's kind of, well, basically shit all stupid. Um, if you just go from, what in English would call the frying pan into the fire, or vice versa, or what here in Thailand translated into English, you know, go from the jaws of the tiger to the jaws of the crocodile. Um, so yeah, and one now I will regularly refer to myself when talking about my history with the faith, as I will refer to myself as an apostate from the Baha'i faith. I very intentionally, do not use the term ex-Baha'i, even if that is a perfectly adequate description. And the reason why I do that is because there is a huge crowd that calls themselves ex-Baha'i, and again, it's also accurate in like the enrollment sense, but they're still stuck in the egregore because really, it's not just there's the Baha'i egregore, there's the American egregore, there's the imperialist capitalist egregore, and many, especially on like the whole online crowd that calls them ex-Baha'i, or at least most of them. Um, I communicated with several of them when I first left, but I really don't talk to too many. Pretty much don't talk to any of them anymore. Um, because I left the Baha'i faith when I could not deny, could not deny that it was an agent of imperialism. And if you think that the Baha'i faith isn't an agent of imperialism, you're being blind and you're intentionally not investigating. And I say this to all the time, you are intentionally not investigating the history. You're being a coward and you're sticking your head in the sand. That's just that. That is what it is. Okay, you're a coward. You're sticking your head in the sand. I love you still. I want you to get out, but I'm calling you out. I'm calling you out on it. And um, the ex-Baha'i crowd, though, for the most part, is still lily white, quasi-liberal, imperialist, Islamophobic. Um, Usually, what they will go after, but the only thing they will go after, they will really hammer um, the Baha'i administration on, is their stance on homosexuality, and they're not welcoming LGBTQ folk into the Baha'i faith, or at least welcoming them in, and making them live, either be celibate or get into a marriage if they can manage that, that sort of thing. And while I do think the Baha'i faith is discriminatory towards uh, those of the LGBTQ, there's a lot bigger issues. And because despite the fact that there is quite a bit of discrimination against LGBTQ people in the world, and that is a problem, there's many more forms of discrimination and injustice, and especially the racism and the overall put it this way, the discrimination against the LGBTQ folks, while very sad to see, and I think a lot of them have been mistreated, really just doesn't compare to what people of color in the global South catch for hell, compared to the white homosexual. And so that focus of the ex-Baha'i crowd ends up just serving to mask. If anything, it's almost like I'd even say, and we have caught conspiracy red-handed between Baha'is and ex-Baha'is to keep to use that to not expose the imperialism and the colonialism behind it all. So yeah, if you want to get away from an organization that is imperialist, that is colonialist, that is white supremacist, yeah, the Baha'i faith is, despite it's there. I can show you writings. I've done that before. They're there. Go take a look. You want me to talk more on it? Okay, watch my other videos on it first. I've done those. Wahid Azal's done those, so they're there. It's not hard to find. Go watch that. But there's for the past at least 125 years or more, there's been a tendency in politics to use all kinds of various sexual issues, both liberatory and repressive, to mask and deny and distract from economic issues. I don't give a shit what someone does in the bedroom with another consenting adult. Okay? I don't give a shit. Doesn't hurt anybody else. And if you're having an affair, okay, you're screwing up your your marriage or steady relationship or whatever. But economics, on the other hand, affects a lot more people. Bad economic policy affects a lot more people. And so this goes back to things like British intelligence founding the Muslim Brotherhood to talk about the modernization is causing us to lose our roots and family values and all that sort of thing. Likewise, you have these distractions in the other direction where like when when they consider allowing LGBTQ people to join the U.S. military as some form of liberation. No, it's not liberatory to join the number one terrorist organization in the world, the U.S. military, to go around the world killing black and brown people to make rich white people even richer. And a lot of the quote unquote ex-Baha'i crowd online will not call the Baha'i faith out for its imperialism and continues to be steeped heavily in Islamophobia. So watch out for that. you know, watch out for that. It's just an extension of the Trojan horse. Um, yeah, if you want to really break free of the or if you want to really be anti-imperialist, then get then get away from the imperialists as best you can. I know it's hard to do that 100% in the world we live in. I mean, none of us are totally perfect in that sense, but don't go to people who are equally imperialistic looking for some kind of support, or you're not really mattering much. Um, I'd also say that don't go to any other Baha'i sects because they're every bit as imperialistic. That's a subject I know Baha'is want to avoid, but they're what the mainstream hyphen Baha'is will often shun people of those sects that have split off from that, and I think the shunning is a bit culty, but there are some that are they're all every bit as imperialistic, and there are some that are nutball in their own unique way. Um, I had I fully condemn the Zionism of the Universal House of Justice and the Baha'i administration worldwide. They're Zionists, they admit it. Abdul Baha openly supported them. Shoghi Rabbani, first thing when the Israeli state was formed, he was one of the first people to, cozy up to them. Okay, these are undeniable historical facts. If you're against what is going on in Israel right now, if you are against the genocide of the Palestinians and you are remaining in the Baha'i faith, you're being a hypocrite. That's the bottom line. You're being a hypocrite because you are actively supporting an organization that is supportive of the state of Israel. No, there's no ands, ifs, or buts about that. None. Um, quit sticking your head in the sand and admit, either admit you're imperialist, or get the hell out of the Baha'i faith because that's what it is. And a lot of these quote unquote ex-Baha'is and a lot of these other Baha'i sects are every bit as screwed up in their own way on the imperialist front. Now, I criticize the mainstream Baha'i administration for being fully in league with the Zionists. Now, there are some splinter sects who will condemn that, but they're equally colonialist in their own way. I somehow wound up getting on a Facebook group called American Solidarity with Palestine. And there was someone else in it who ended up being part of the BUPC. It's one of the splinter groups. I want to say that's Marilyn Gell's group, but I don't pay that much attention. And he was condemning the hyphen Baha'i administration for Zionism, and I'd agree with that criticism, but then he started to go on this rant about how, because one of the main founder and moderator of this group wanted to, created a second group. I forget the exact name of it, like committee for something Palestine. It was basically looking at like the long-term possibility of the fact that um, Israel might win in the short term and force everybody out of Gaza. And what can Palestinian people do? What can the current diaspora and the to be diaspora do to have a governmental system in place for the day they get to return? Which I think is a perfectly valid question. And this BUPC dick um, was trying to say that, oh, there already is one. And he thought that if the Universal House of Justice would just declare a guardian, for those of you who aren't Baha'is and you don't know what I mean, don't worry about it. It's um, Baha'i admin pickiness that would kind of distract from the main issue for me going too into detail about it. But, and I ended up being, at least maybe not the only person, but at least someone played a good role in getting this guy kicked out of the group because I called him and I said, dude, what you are proposing is you are trying to say that a foreign body should be the government of Palestine. And I'm like, that's every bit as fucking colonialist as Zionism. Every bit. Okay, so yeah, don't go there. And this particular guy, when I like looked at his profile, he was going, as activist Eric Draitser likes to say, um, if you think anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism, you're a moron. But if you think anti-Semitism is anti-Zionism, you're a fascist. And this guy was an anti-Semite fascist, even having not only a bunch of maggot shit on his wall, but also having stereotypical anti-Jewish propaganda that looks like things out of the Nazis and out of the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, all that shit, exaggerating, caricature, Jewish features and all that. So yeah, it was just, Nazi shit. And the Zionists and Nazis are actually pretty similar. So yeah, it was just another just another form of of nutball imperialism. So yes, you're if you're looking for an alternative, that ain't it. Yeah, you're every bit as much in the egregore. So yeah, I think I'll conclude this now. Who knows? I might think of something else to maybe make another addendum video about, because it's like I've said, nothing exists in a vacuum, and all these issues interplay. So, yeah, all right. That's it for now. Temporary update completed.